of Monica, who invited him.
Okay. Last on this, joyriders, Wamuchomba.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise to affirm on the case that the Honorable Passaris has talked about, because James Karaoke happens to be my voter from Githunguri. This case, Mr. Speaker, and I'm happy that the Prime Cabinet Minister is here, is attracting a lot of foreign attention. Because James was arraigned in court and he was jailed for 2 years for having been involved in electronic fraud. But while he was serving his time in jail in Sharjah, in UAE, another crime was committed using his documents. And now he's been arraigned again and he's been detained for the second crime, not having completed the first jail sentence. And he is supposed to be out with to pay 2 million Kenya shillings for bond. And of course, he has no papers, he has no visa, he cannot be able to even afford for that. And I understand, Mr. Speaker, and this is to the attention of, please excuse me for making a lot of noise. This is to the attention of the Prime Cabinet Minister. I understand that there are so many of our young people in UAE who went there in the invitation of electronic jobs, but have ended up being used for international electronic fraud under coercion of some foreigners. And I understand James is only one victim that is registered and has been arraigned, but there are very many in cells. Can the Prime Cabinet Minister assist us to know whether he's aware of these many children, many young Kenyans in UAE, in cells, and how can we help James and many others that have not been brought to attention? I happen to have contacts of James, the family, and I would be happy to help you, to assist you to sort out this issue.
You can respond to those.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Let me start with the question of Mr. Barake on the examination. This is something we have noted, and we'll communicate and see if our efforts through the diplomatic channels can allow Mr. Barake to do his examinations while the other matters are being attended to. So we will follow that up through the diplomatic channels immediately. On the issue of Parstay Remoy, I must say that I do not have the specific details on this, and would be happy to get some...
When you get details, you can write to the committee.
We can then now give a more comprehensive response. On the issue raised by the Honorable Passaris, which in a way also ties with the member for Githunguri, I want to state that first, let me acknowledge with appreciation the compliments for the efforts that the ministry has taken to help the ones who are in Myanmar and indeed in some other areas to be brought back. I just want to say something on this, with your indulgence, Mr. Speaker, as I conclude, so that perhaps I can help in conveying this message and seeking the help of the parliamentarians to be able to campaign with us to educate our young people as they go out. Now, Mr. James Karaoke, he was arrested in a cyber cafe in Dubai, undertaking the fraudulent activities together with others, as has been pointed out. And electronically, we also have to bear in mind that once your details are violated, it's possible that even if you are here, somebody else will be using your activities. And I have had this kind of experience myself, where at one time, my Visa card was being used in a country that I had not stepped into. And I had to write officially to the institution to confirm to them and give them details of my passport and travel to show that I was never in that country. So once your electronic details are taken, it is possible that somebody can continue misusing those details for their personal gain. So it's important that we all are vigilant on this. We will nevertheless take up the matter again with our mission and see what more can be done to assist in enabling Karaoke to have access to legal support so that he can be able to deal with his challenges. The issue of the hotlines are well taken. On Pareo, again, I would seek that we get proper details because we have no idea who Monica is. So I would appeal that the member can communicate officially with more details to us so that the ministry can have a starting point in the follow-up process of this other individual. Now, Mr. Speaker, the point I wanted to raise, without in any way casting aspersion as to the innocence or guilt of the individuals that are in this particular question, I just want to state that we have over 1,000 Kenyans incarcerated in different countries for various reasons. Some misdemeanors and some serious offenses that have been committed. It is not our wish that we see these Kenyans languishing in various places. But I would like us to acknowledge that it is important that we engage in a collective campaign as leaders to be able to convey, especially to the young people, because we have a demographic issue here. The young people are the ones who are really traveling, and they constitute 70% of our population. They are not informed about certain consequences. It is our duty, collectively, to start conveying messages of awareness to our young people in all our constituencies in the country, that they should be cautious because landing into trouble there can be very painful. You can be isolated, you can be alone, and by the time somebody discovers you are in trouble somewhere, it may be too late. So this is a message that I would want to appeal through you, Mr. Speaker, so that we advise our young people about that. The second point, Mr. Speaker, is the hard truth that also needs to go out. And the hard truth is this, that Parliament, as they allocate resources, Parliament does not allocate resources for the government of Kenya to continuously bail out Kenyans who have landed into the wrong side of the law in various countries. I think it is important for this to be appreciated because all resource allocation is done here, and therefore our people should know that as much as it's a constitutional obligation to safeguard Kenyans, we must also be realistic and tell Kenyans that they have to obey the law. Once the wheels are up, the law in play is the law of that country. And even here, in our own country, if somebody is on the wrong side of the law, you face the consequences procedurally. So we must also alert our people that we cannot have a society where we are being pressurized. Parliament indirectly is pressurized through the ministry to be providing money, to be bailing out people who have been involved in unlawful activities. So, Mr. Speaker, through you, I just want to appeal that we become cognizant of this and we communicate to our Kenyans so that we don't face further embarrassment as we go forward. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Question 035, 2025, Honorable Cynthia Muge. Yes, Wanjala, what is it?
Mr. Speaker, thank you, because the Minister for Foreign Affairs is here. Mr. Speaker, we people in Busia who live along the lake, people in Kisumu County who live along the lake, people from Abay who live along the lake, and people of Migori who live along the lake, and that is Lake Victoria, which is a shared resource. Mr. Speaker, our people have severally landed into problems just because they have gone to fish. The boundary is not indicated, but they are arrested by the Ugandans who keep on extorting them. If they don't have that money, they are taken to jails in Uganda, and there is many of them there. When you report to the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, it has really done little, that we go even further as a people to go and raise money to help these people. But they have not intervened as a government that this is a shared resource by our people crossing to come and do fishing, and fish are bred in Kenya. They only cross into deeper seas, they are arrested. What is the ministry doing to ensure now they show us or they demarcate, because they had started demarcating the boundaries? And I think at that time, Honorable Speaker, you were the Minister for Foreign Affairs at that time when they were trying to demarcate, but it stopped somewhere. When are they going to prioritize to demarcate the boundary between Kenya and Uganda in Lake Victoria?
Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I just want to say that this process is ongoing. The issue of the demarcation, because we have a department, the KIBO, Kenya International Boundaries Organization, and it's only 2 weeks ago that they gave me a brief on the progress that they are making. Normally, this is a collaborative effort between the countries, and both countries must work in harmony and in tandem. So it's an ongoing process. We have covered substantial parts of our boundaries, but others remain. And the area you mentioned is one of the areas where we are consulting so that we work together with the government of Uganda and indeed even the government of Tanzania when we are looking at the boundaries in the Lake Victoria area. And it's not easy. It's a very expensive exercise, but I want to assure you it's ongoing. However, we will continue with our diplomatic efforts to always mitigate and intervene in areas that you speak of. When I was making reference to the wrong side of the law, Mr. Speaker, I was not talking of the kind of situation that we find ourselves with through the fishing. I was talking of the wrong side of the law where some Kenyans are involved in either drug trafficking, human trafficking, and some of those areas. And I really plead that the Kenyans, especially those who want to go out of the country, please consult with the ministry so that we also advise you on the hotspots in some of these areas, and we avoid you going there because some of them have landed in these difficult areas because they never consulted. Thank you.
Cynthia Muge.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Could the Cabinet Secretary provide a report detailing the data and statistics of all children born to Kenyan mothers whom, according to Saudi Arabia laws, are non-citizens, and the steps being taken by the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Diaspora Affairs to process their exit permits? That's question number one. Number two, Could the Cabinet Secretary clarify whether there are any actions to address the challenges faced by stateless children born to Kenyan mothers, particularly in cases where former employers have confiscated the passports of the mothers and ensuring that their rights are fully protected? And the last question, could the Cabinet Secretary, the Prime Cabinet Secretary, state the measures put in place to ensure timely processing of the DNA samples collected from Kenyan mothers and their children, including the timelines of processing and issuance of exit permits for these children? Those are my questions, Honorable Speaker, and the Prime Cabinet Secretary should know that this is a very emotive issue where children who are born to Kenyan mothers living in Saudi Arabia cannot access medical care and cannot access education because they are considered not to be eligibly in the country and do not even have...
after the question.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I would wish to respond as follows. One, the government is apprised of the matter of children born to Kenyan mothers in the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. The number of children born to Kenyan mothers in our records as of now are 388. The processing of exit visas is done by the government of Saudi Arabia upon application by the individual. The mission assists Kenyans with children to apply for the exit visa, negotiate for waiver of the accumulated dependency fees, and follow up until they exit. On the clarity as to whether there are steps taken to address the challenges faced by stateless children born to Kenyan mothers, particularly in cases where former employers have confiscated the passports of the mothers, we wish to respond as follows. A, Article 14.1, as read with Clause 30 of the 6th Schedule of the Constitution of Kenya, stipulates that a person is a citizen by birth if on the day of the person's birth, whether or not the person is born in Kenya, either the mother or the father of the person is a citizen. This provision outlines the principle of citizenship by parentage, thus granting automatic citizenship to children born abroad to Kenyan citizens. Therefore, in principle, we do not have children born of Kenyans in Saudi Arabia or elsewhere who are stateless. All that the parents need to do so as to apply for identification documents for them from the embassy in Riyadh or the consulate in Jeddah. 3, in instances where the parents have no passports, they apply for replacement through the embassy. In the alternative, the embassy issues them with emergency travel documents to enable them return to Kenya. Lack of a passport is not an impediment to acquisition of vital documents or repatriation. The third aspect of the question is that, as stated earlier, 707 DNA samples for children and their parents were collected for analysis. They were all processed and results shared with the parents to enable them apply for birth certificates and travel documents for the children. And the ministry continues to assist in this process so that we can have the DNA procedures undertaken as soon as possible.
Cynthia.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I am a bit confused by the statement or the answer. Of course, I appreciate the efforts and the fact that the ministry is keeping proper records. If not all of it, at least it's appreciated that there is some of it. The other item, that is the question number 2, about the mothers who have had their passports confiscated. You know, I think the Prime Cabinet Secretary is speaking to an ideal situation. Honorable Speaker, I'm trying to address the real situation on the ground in Saudi Arabia. Those mothers have gotten themselves a name called Kemboi. Kemboi means runaways. These are people who have 0 documents. And Honorable Speaker, someone who is already running away